Today we're talking about taming the inner critic. I want to talk to you about sorting out the different voices or avatars that live in your head. It might sound crazy, but when we know the voices are all us, it's really not crazy. Self-awareness is the best antidote to insanity I can recommend. So with that said, let me first say thank you for stopping by and listening to the channel and seeing if there's something here that resonates with you. This is where we explore the many choices that face us daily and where we use the wisdom of those who have gone before us as a guide. I truly believe that looking at the wise men and women of years past, whose work has stood the test of time, is worth revisiting, not letting those things be forgotten. Again, thank you for stopping by the internal executive to see what today's material is about. And I have to remind you, of course, there is no client-provider relationship here. All info is provided for education and entertainment purposes only. I do have a couple of previous audios that you might want to check out. One is the intro, and that just tells you a little bit more about my background and where the channel is planned to go. And the other one is an introduction to Eric Berne's work. Briefly, I'll just summarize. Eric Berne was a cutting-edge psychoanalyst from the 1960s, so a little before my time. He was considered old when I was introduced to his material, which was a very long time ago. But he developed a concept that was based sort of building on Freud's work with a child instead of the ego. The child instead of the id. So Freud has id, ego, and superego. Berne has child, adult, and parent. And what I did in my work with people, I was introduced to this when I was a freshman in college, I think my first quarter, and I've just modernized the language a little bit. And, I'm sure that there might be some nuance where I'm in a little bit of disagreement or just interpret it differently than from some other practitioners, and that's fine. I'm more than happy to hear the feedback and continue to refine. That's part of being human, is to always be open to growth. So, with all of that, let's get going on talking about the inner critic and who that is and where that comes from. So the inner critic is the critical parent's voice. And how do we develop a critical parent voice inside of us? Well, it starts as children. We internalize what we hear around us. And it used to be, the parents. Well, now our children are exposed to so much. It isn't just parental stuff. The shoulds and the moralizing will also come from the school that we go to, the church that we go to, the sports things we participate in. To the degree that you are doing these things and align with the groups, you will internalize the morality of that system. And then something happens where you start becoming aware, you start questioning it, and the pattern used to be pretty consistent across the board. And again, it has changed a lot because we are all now interacting with people and communities online and not just our families. But regardless of what starts it, ideally we start questioning it and refining it to align with what we have decided we believe must be a true moral code. Now, we don't talk about all of that stuff very much anymore. And so there's probably a good chance that most of us carry some unconscious baggage from our childhood that we thought this was a moral thing. We got confused and we never really examined it. So that's what I want to teach you how to do, or share with you how I learned how to do it through Berne's work. So you hear the critical parent, you hear that inner critic. Is what the critical parent's saying true? Is it accurate? If you're hearing, you should do this, you should do that, should I? Or would it just be better? So an example might be if somebody's trying to lose weight or quit smoking and they decide to ignore the new plan of abstinence from cigarettes or sugar or whatever they have decided. And then when they go off plan, their inner critic starts beating them up, right? You're bad. You shouldn't have done this. You should know better. Well, is that really helpful? So that's what you want to ask yourself. Is it true and is it helpful? And then if it's triggering emotional pain, which typically it will, the purpose of the inner critic is to keep us morally upright. There is such a thing as healthy guilt. There is such a thing as healthy guilt. So is this a moral issue? If not, then maybe there's just a better strategy to get the outcome we seek. And so the other avatars that need to show their faces and speak up are the nurturing parent to counterbalance the inner critic and the scientist, or as Byrne would say, the adult. Now, the job of the nurturing parent is to say, I'm here to support you, and there's more to you than just this, and I love you, or you have so many other positive things about you. What you believe to be true about humanity and yourself is going to also inform the language of that nurturing parent. But her job, and I will use the pronouns because it's pretty obvious to me from the 1960s that this is drawn from that model of the father being the spiritual head of the household and the mother being the nurturing parent who's much softer and kinder and holds the baby. That being said, it's very true that there are many men who are more nurturing, and there are plenty of women who are very critical and moralize a lot and whatever. So I'm not trying to be sexist here. So knowing that the nurturing parent is there for you and is going to rally the resources for you to try to evoke a better strategy and help you find a better way to deal with what's triggering the desire to go off plan. And by you, I mean this imaginary person, right? So the adult is going to analyze the environment. And this is what cognitive behavioral therapists do. They look at the trigger. They look at the trigger for the event. And so they'll say, okay, what day did this happen? What time did it happen? What was I just thinking? Or what was I just doing? Then I did the thing. And then what were my thoughts after it? So like cigarettes are easy, I think. There's so many scenarios where there's just a pattern where that's what I always do. And there's probably food things where that's just what I always do. So the cigarette, it's like, well, every time, March 21st, 8 a.m., I see Bob. Bob and I always smoke. We always go outside at the break time. And then after I smoke, I beat myself up. I say these mean things to myself. So the scientist is going to maybe suggest, well, you can find something else to do with Bob or not go out with Bob at all, and find something else to do during that time. But stay out of the environment where you're always doing the thing. And the nurturing parent might poke her head up and say, yeah, why are you so mean to yourself when you're just executing on an established pattern? And so that is learning to develop those voices. A person can become a lot more effective at changing their behavior instead of being trapped in this cycle where the critical parent is just beating you up and treating you like garbage. Getting a handle on those voices allows you to consciously choose and develop strategies so that you can become the best version of yourself. Recognize you don't have to be perfect to be the best version of yourself, because the best version is always evolving through self-awareness and having a different relationship with changing behaviors. I don't want to make this too long of a recording, too long of an audio or a video, however you want to say that, because I'd like to hear from you guys, and then we can have maybe a little exchange, keeping in mind this is a forum with lots of viewers, so there's etiquette that we should follow and be kind with each other. But if it makes sense around the different avatars and what you'd like to learn more of. And I think I'll probably do different audios where I emphasize the different avatars and how they interact with each other. So I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to the feedback. And thank you for coming by. Till next time.